YouTube, it's that time of year again where ESPN ranks their top 100 players for the upcoming NBA season, and in this case, the 2025 NBA season for all players in the NBA, and I want to react to it with you guys in this video. I understand I'm a little bit late to the party here, but better late than never, right? I will be honest, I have seen a few rankings that are pretty crazy, but I've only really seen 3 of the rankings, all right? And that's just from Twitter, so everything else will be a fresh reaction from me. Be giving my takes throughout the video. The 3 people I have seen are Victor Wembanyama at 11th, Herb Jones, I believe, at 97 or 98, and at Jason Tatum at number 5. So we'll get into all that in a second. First, I just want to dive through the criteria here because consistency with the criteria is the most important thing here. And so it looks like the criteria for this list, from what I'm reading, is that these are predictions and projections as far as this upcoming season of who's going to be the top 100 players in terms of performance. And so that is important to note. You know, it's not from last season. It's not from, you know, where they're at right now. It'll be how they perform this upcoming season in these expert panels' opinions of who will perform the best. We're going to hold them to that criteria here pretty strictly, and I will say performance for the upcoming season is pretty vague, and so I'd be curious to see what they factor into, you know, just the word performance, right? It also says down here based on their predicted contributions, quality and quantity. So I guess they're factoring in maybe players that are unreliable or have struggled with injuries. You know, they use the word quantity there, and quality obviously being how much they contribute, I guess. Again, this is pretty vague. We're going to hold them to it. Let's get into the rankings, folks. So at number 100, we have Anthony Simons, and that feels a little low for Anthony Simons. Not saying he's a superstar or anything, but you know, this is a special type of scorer and shooter in this league. He is a special type of shooter in particular, and 100 just feels kind of low for him. We'll have to see. Yeah, Chris Paul at 99. I mean, if we're projecting, like I said up here, quantity of contributions, I'm not sure Chris Paul is the type of guy that you can expect to play, you know, 70 plus games for a team anymore at his age. He's still a very impactful player when he's on the floor, and I think he will be for the Spurs, but if we're going to say quantity is a factor in terms of how they'll contribute, and I'm not sure Chris Paul is over Anthony Simons as far as what you can expect to see from him this season, and so that kind of already isn't a great ranking in my opinion. Mike Conley at 98, I'm okay with that. I think, you know, Mike Conley is a very good point guard, you know, still at his age, you know, more, I would say more reliable than Chris Paul at this point for sure, and you know, certainly adds a lot of stability to the Minnesota Timberwolves offense. As I mentioned in the intro, I've already seen this one. This is an absolutely incredibly bad ranking here at Herb Jones at 97. Okay, maybe Jones should rank higher here. That's what I'm seeing. Yeah, I think maybe is the wrong word there. He should rank higher. He should be at least top, maybe 80, right? Like, this is a crazy ranking for Herb Jones at 97, one of the best defensive players in the entire league. All defensive first team last season, 5th in DPOY voting. He is that special of a defender. He is a very efficient offensive player as well. Good 3-point shooter. This is one of the best two-way wings in the league. To have him at 97 just feels wrong to me. It is wrong, and this is a crazy ranking here. Pelicans fans, let me know down in the comment section what you think of this ranking here. This is absolutely, you know, terrible. You know, Al Horford at 96. Again, Al Horford's a good player, and he's going to serve a big time role for the Celtics, especially with KP down to start the season. So I don't really have a problem too much with Al Horford being on this list. Again, they've noted here Kristaps Porzingis being sidelined to begin the season. Horford will be a big part of this Celtics team, and you know, he will contribute to a lot of winning certainly throughout the regular season here. But Herb Jones at 97, it just feels like everyone ahead of him in this kind of range is going to be really bad. Jalen Suggs should be higher for me, no question. I mean, this guy, another all defensive team guy, shot the ball really well last season, but he's an elite point of attack defender, one of the best in the league. Absolute dog out there, good all-around player, but primarily on defense, he is an absolute monster. 95 feels super low. Keegan Murray, I'm fine with, you know, here, maybe a little bit higher, you could say. I think this guy's going to have a much better season than last year. He is coming off a year where he shot poorly for his standards, at least from the 3-point arc, still really good. Special type of shooter, like I said, but you know, he is a very good defender at this point in his career, and like it says here, in contrast to his first year in the league when he was hunted on defense, now he takes on the opponent's best offensive player. You know, that is no exaggeration. He's going to do that again this season. You know, 94 feels a little low for Suggs, Murray, Herb Jones. Certainly, you know, these guys need to be a little bit higher. Brook Lopez at 93, I don't know, I think that's okay. You know, he's one of the best defensive anchors in the league. We did see him take a little bit of a, you know, dip in production, as it says here, last season, but you know, still, I think some of these, you know, guys that are great defenders, you know, need to be a little bit higher, especially when you consider Brook Lopez's gravity from the 3-point arc. He's a great big man as far as shooting goes, you know, no question. Jabari Smith Jr. at 92, not necessarily high, but when you consider the guys behind him here, it kind of does feel a little bit high. Now, I expect Jabari Smith Jr. to take a big leap in defense and shooting again. You know, he is a, you know, knockdown catch and shoot guy, solid power forward, especially defensively. He's a very versatile defender. You know, as it says here, on the verge of a true breakout season, no question. This is a guy guy could be ranked way higher by the time next season's rankings comes around. But if it were up to ESPN, I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle on this pick here, but 91, Jonas Valanciunas. Listen, this is kind of where it starts to get a little weird for me, because you have Brook Lopez and, these guys, Suggs, Horford, Herb Jones, Keegan Murray up here. We got Jonas Valanciunas at 91. Not to say Valanciunas isn't a very good center in this league, certainly starting caliber, above average, I'd even say. He's a double-double machine, as it says right here. One of the best rebounders in the league. He played all 82 games last season. Certainly has to factor into the criteria, I guess. Very durable center, but listen, even though he's going to be Washington's, starting center, probably be one of the best players on their team next season, is this team going to win more than 20, 25 games? I don't think so. And so how can we say that Valanciunas, as good as he is as a center at 91, is more valuable or quality and quantity mix than Jalen Suggs, who's going to be one of the best players on a playoff team, So that's just kind of weird to me. I don't know. I think he should be way lower, Valanciunas. Andrew Wiggins, I kind of predict a bounce back season from him as well, but, to be 90 ahead of Herb Jones is just crazy to me. He is nowhere near Herb Jones if we're talking about where he was last season. He needs to be way better for the Warriors, and I expect him to be a little bit better, but this is just way too high for him at this point. Michael Porter Jr. should be a little bit higher. He had a good season last year. He has become a durable player, 81 games last season. One of the greatest three-point shooters in the league, no question. It says his three-point shooting dipped slightly to 39.7%. That's about 40% from three on extremely high volume and highly difficult, shots that he takes compared to other three-point shooters. That's the reasoning he dipped from 68 to 89, that we're going to say his, 40% three-point shooting on extremely high volume and difficulty down from 41.4% on 81 games played is the reason. I don't know. I think that's absolutely nuts. I don't know. I think he should be way higher in my opinion. Isaiah Hartenstein at 88. I don't know. I guess that's okay for me. Naz Reid at 87, maybe could be a little bit higher. I certainly think he could be. No question. One of the best backup fives I've ever seen. He could be starting on a lot of NBA teams. No question. I mean, this guy is a good defender and very switchable defender and a great three-point shooter from outside. He was the sixth man of the year last season. Could be a little bit higher for sure. Jaime Jaquez at 86. I don't really have a problem with this if we're going on projections. I think he's going to have a very good sophomore year in this league. This is a guy who I expect to be on breakout watch. He's certainly one of the best players on this Miami Heat team. He will be much better this season. I think maybe a little bit bigger of a role. Like it says here, he'll be a key part of Miami's present and future. I don't mind him being on this list or even where he is, but I just mind that some of the players that are going to be way better than him are behind him. Again, I just keep going back to Herb Jones. I know it's kind of ridiculous that I keep bringing it up, but it's really not, because he's just way better than like most of the people we've already named. Lou Dort at 85, I guess. I think he's a good player. He's certainly a great defender, right? He is a very good defender, a little bit inefficient offensively, but he shot way better from three last season, which was a big thing for him. One of the keys to the Thunder's success, and it will be again this season. But again, just some of these other guys, like, if we're going to have Jalen Suggs at 96 or wherever he was, and, Lou Dort at 85, I just don't love that at all. CJ McCollum 84 certainly could be higher. A great season last year. He will take a dip in production because of DeJounte Murray coming over to New Orleans, but I still think he's better than 84, no question. 83, we have Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart is a player a lot of people forgot about because of his injury last season and not being on the Celtics, not getting so much prime time. He didn't play that many games for the Grizzlies, but he is certainly one of the best point of attack defenders in the league. Obviously coming off a DPOY a few years ago, definitely serviceable on aspects of the offensive side of the floor. He will be starting two guard, I believe, for Memphis this season, and so I don't have a problem with him being 83 at all. Mitchell Robinson at 82, though, going off of the criteria that we have, we're talking about quantity, right? So if quantity is an issue, then I'm not sure Mitchell Robinson deserves to be way up at 82 here, because he just hasn't been very healthy, and again, he's a very great rim protector. He's elite on that defensive anchor side of things, and rebounding. He is an exceptionally great rebounder, one of the best in the league, just a great overall center. Certainly when he's healthy, like it says here, he is one of the best. I don't know about one of the best big men in the league. That's a little overzealous, I think, but at the things he's good at, he's elite at, and he is no question a great contributor to another playoff team here, going to win more than 50 games. But are we going to say that Mitchell Robinson is going to play 60 games this season? He's already supposed to miss some time here in, the early part of the season, and he'll be probably coming off the bench. Maybe you could say he'll start at the 5 when he comes back. I'm not sure if that's what the Knicks are going to do, but either way, I just don't think with the criteria we have, you can call me a Sixers fan and a Knick hater. I'm not hating. I don't have a problem with him being here, but this isn't my criteria. It's not just the best 100 players. He should be on the list, but if we're factoring in health, then I don't know why he's this high. Miles Turner, maybe, I think he should be higher. He played like an all-star last season and was a big time force on this Pacers team. We saw them take a big leap all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals last season. For much of the season, he was the second best player on this team. Now he's going to be the third best player on this team, for another playoff team here, potential playoff team. And so I don't know why, he shouldn't really be higher here. Jeremy Grant, I guess at 80, I don't expect the Blazers to win more than 20, 25 games. And so that has to factor in for me. He's a really solid two-way player on a bad team. So he shouldn't really get, discredited for that. But if we're going off the criteria, quality and quantity of impact and performance and contributions implies that you're contributing to winning basketball. And I just don't see that being the case here. Fred VanVleet, 79. I think he could be a little bit higher, no question. This guy stabilized the Rockets last year, who won 40 plus games. It will probably be around that mark again. He is one of the best players on that team, and with his leadership and amazing point guard play, turned that team around. He helped them do that. Not the sole reason, but a culture builder, like it says here. He's a dog. He's a good point of attack defender. I think he puts a lot of effort into that end of the floor, being a pest on the ball. Great playmaker, dynamic type of spacer and shooter. And so I think VanVleet should be higher. Podziemski at 78. This is kind of contested whether or not he'll take that star type of leap next season. I'm not so sure. I think if I had to bet on it, I'd say maybe he will. I don't hate him being at 78. I just think if you're going to rank players like Fred VanVleet at 79, I'm not so sure, Miles Turner at 81, Jalen Suggs at 96. Like, should Podziemski really be this high? He could be. He certainly could be. I think he'll have a big time breakout season. Will that get him past guys like Fred VanVleet next season? CJ McCollum, Naz Reid, Michael Porter Jr. I'm just not so sure about that. And so we'll have to see it on the floor next season. Jaden McDaniels, this is a good spot for him, I think. Not really an issue there. Tyler Hero, I think that's all right. I think that's an okay ranking. DiVincenzo is very high for me, 75. I think he's one of the best shooters in the league, no question. I think he's good enough at everything else, but I just don't think like Tyler Hero and, Fred VanVleet and some of these guys, man, some of these guys are like all-star caliber players. Miles Turner, I don't know, man. This is kind of way too high for me for Dante DiVincenzo. Again, I have been very positive towards him and his impact that he's going to have on the Wolves. I think it is a big addition for a team that needed more shooting, that needed a dynamic type of floor spacer and offensive, threat for that second unit. But, he's just not 75. I'm sorry. And he's just not going to be that high next season. Zach LaVine at 74 is crazy to me. I just don't know how we can sit here and say a healthy Zach LaVine, which he is. He's healthier. Billy Donovan has come out and said he's healthier than he's seen Zach LaVine in 3+ years. You could say that's trade propaganda. They're trying to get him traded and stuff like that. I think he's healthy too. And I think a healthy Zach LaVine is an all-star player, right? And so 74, I don't know. I get that he hasn't been great, but over the past couple seasons, he's been hurt, but that has nothing to do with the projection, right? This list is projecting, the top 100 players. And so their criteria here is a lot of it's saying, we played 25 games in a forgettable season last year, trade speculation, trade market, never developed, blah, 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 blah. Reputation, none of that has anything to do with how he's going to play this season, all right? And so he needs to be top 50, like at minimum top 50. You could even say 38's a good ranking for him last season. I don't know why we're saying he's lower than that. I get people are low on him, but 74 is crazy, man. Come on. Jared Allen needs to be way higher. I mean, this guy, another all-star caliber big, certainly around this 50 mark seems fair to me. I mean, this guy is a good rim protector. He's a great rebounder. Dealt with an injury towards the end of the season last year, kind of, I guess, plummeted his value for what we're seeing him as now. I don't know why he's all the way at 73. That just feels wrong to me. You're going to get a 15-10 season out of him with good rim protection and a consistent type of production stream from him in that regard. So he needs to be way higher. Austin Reeves, last year was 66. Now he's 72. I think 72 is a little high. He certainly shouldn't be over Zach LaVine and Jared Allen. You could say he's going to take a leap this season. He could take a leap. I'm actually a lot higher on Austin Reeves than a lot of, Lakers fans are. I certainly think he is a very solid third or fourth option, but, to have him at 72 above some of these other guys just doesn't make a ton of sense. Klay Thompson, 71. I'd like to see who's ahead of him to really kind of gauge that, but, it doesn't seem all that bad right now, in my opinion. Bradley Beal should be higher than 70. I mean, I get that, he shot well last season, even though he had limited production. He's obviously the third option on this Suns team. Didn't really play like himself all that much last year. Had a lot of injury issues. His career in general is just kind of trending downward if you look at his production, but at the end of the day, I think 70 is low for him, no question. I mean, Jalen Green at 69, I don't know, maybe a little lower on him than these people would be, because while I do think there's a chance he takes a leap this season, I give it probably a good chance. I just don't know how high that leap's going to be. We have to see Jalen Green do other things than shot creation and scoring, right? He's good at those two things. He's very good at shot creation, and we, maybe we'll see him take a little bit of efficiency leap, but is he going to be a good playmaker? Is he going to be an unselfish winning type of basketball player that is deserving of this max contract he's looking to get? Is he going going to be, a good defender, not just a serviceable one, but a good one, right? Under Coach Udoka. These are things he has to answer for us. Will he be a great defender? I mean, he certainly has all the tools to be. Can he be the best or second best player on a playoff team in this Western Conference? I just don't think so. I think 69 is too high for him when you have Bradley Beal, Klay Thompson, Zach LaVine back here. I don't know, man. I have to see it. Brandon Miller, I actually don't have a problem with this. You could say that's crazy. Again, all this looks crazy with all the people behind them, but I think Brandon Miller is going to have a breakout season. I've been saying that all summer. He is a special type of scorer. He is going to improve in other areas like defense and shot creation and playmaking. This guy is just going to have a great season, and so I have no problem with this here. Cade Cunningham, I mean, come on, man. 67. This team's going to win more games this season, around 25 to 30, I would expect. Maybe around 30, you could say. And Cade Cunningham is it's not even close. He's the best player on this team. He played like an all-star last season. Go look at his numbers. Tell me that's not all-star caliber production. 23 points per game, 8 assists, right? I get that they lost a lot of games, but we're not considering that for other people you have up here, right? Like ahead of these other winning type of players. Cade Cunningham is going to have all-star production again this season, and he's even going to have better production on a more winning team. So 67 is just crazy to me. He needs to be top 50. Draymond Green at 66. I mean, what are we doing, man? I like Draymond Green. I'm higher on him than other people. He gets in trouble with his antics. He is at times negative for his team with the antics, but at the end of the day, he's still a great defender, and he's a great playmaker, and he's a essential piece of what the Warriors do to win basketball games. But are we going to say he's quality and quantity more than Cade Cunningham or some of these other guys? I mean, Zach LaVine, Jarrett Allen. I mean, come on. Like, I have no problem with him being somewhere around 80 or 70, 75. Like, it's just, this is way too high for him given the criteria we have and the people I've already seen on the list. Malik Monk at 65. I don't really have an issue with it. I could see a case that he's somewhere around here. I just think some of the other players we've already named are better. Emmanuel Quickley, 64. This is actually a solid ranking. I will give them props here for having the guts to put him here, because people just don't understand. When he got this contract, $175 million contract, they see his time with the Knicks and they say, oh, he's a six-man type of player. He's not. He's going to prove that day one with the Raptors. I mean, if you look at his production with the Raptors last season, 19 points per game, 7 assists on a good turnover ratio, 40% from 3 on high volume, like 7 per game, right? He is a special type of point guard. He's going to be the guard of this team's future to build with, and at 64 makes a lot of sense. He's going to have great production. Expect similar things from Quickley this season, and he's a good defender as well. So I like this ranking here. Chris Middleton at 63. That's pretty fair, I think. If he plays like he did for some of the portion of, the playoff series against Indiana, we could see him be ranked a lot higher, but, I think if we're projecting, I don't mind this ranking, maybe a little bit higher. KCP at 62. I don't know, man. I like KCP, and I've been a big advocate. A lot of people say he doesn't move the needle for the Magic, and he doesn't move the needle, with Denver losing him. I don't know that all of that's true. I just think that aside, he is certainly one of the best point of attack defenders in the league. He is an excellent perimeter guy defensively, top tier elite in this league, excellent catch and shoot player, 42% from 3 on high volume. He is a special type of role player, one of the best role players in the league. So 62 feels okay. Maybe you could say he's a little lower given that a guy like Herb Jones is literally 97 on this list. Josh Hart at 61. I might have him a little bit lower. I think Josh Hart's a really good player, and he's just an exceptional all-around basketball player, and the value that he added to the Knicks last season, especially in the playoffs against my 76ers, was immeasurable. I mean, he was lights out in that series. I don't know that Josh Hart necessarily should be ranked above a guy like Malik Monk or Cade Cunningham. I just think that's a little bit, I don't really love the ranking. I think he should be a little bit lower. Desmond Bane at 60. I think he should be a little bit higher. This is a guy that took big leaps in playmaking and on-ball creation last season with Ja Morant down. He's a serviceable defender as well. Again, bit under the radar. He's one of the more underrated players in the league, in my opinion. Special type of shooter. This guy's a problem out there. You can't leave him open. You got to watch him at all times. He's one of those guys you got to scheme for. 60 feels low to me. Alex Caruso at 59. That's all right. Yeah, I think Alex Caruso, what he does as a role player, it cannot be understated. I think he's just above guys like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Josh Hart. If I had to rank best role players in the league, we would see some of these guys like Draymond Green, Alex Caruso, KCP, but Alex Caruso would certainly be near the top of the list. He is, as it says, an elite perimeter defender, maybe the best in the league. I mean, I saw him shut down guys like Kevin Durant last season late in games. I saw him guard, players 1 through 4 at his size and do it consistently. He shot 40% from 3 last season. Rebounder, solid playmaker. He's just an absolute nightmare out there defensively. And so I think 59 is a good ranking for him. Kobe White at 58 feels fair. Again, I don't love some of the other guys behind him, like even even his own teammate Zach LaVine, I think, should be way above him. But at the end of the day, this guy is going to have another, star caliber season, right? Or borderline star caliber season. Darius Garland, he needs to be a little bit higher on this list, especially when I'm seeing the name below him that I do. I should go one at a time here, but 36, maybe you could say that's a little too high where he was last season, but certainly there's not 57 players that are going to be better than him this season. Top 45 for sure, right? You could say. Derek Lively II, I think he's going to have a big time breakout type of season as a center in this league. He's going to prove that he is a great, starting caliber rim runner, right? One of the best in the league. I think he'll be at rebounding and finishing and lob threat and, defense and stuff like that. All the great, rim running center things. He's going to be an elite player at those things, but 56, I mean, come on, man. We've already seen Jarrett Allen, Miles Turner on this list below him. Like, what are we doing? Derek Lively II, are we going to say that he's going to have a better season than some of the centers we've already seen, like Jarrett Allen, like Miles Turner? I mean, I don't know, man. I think that's kind of crazy that he would be 56. I think he should be on the list, right? I guess they're just thinking he's going to be a star caliber center. I just don't know. Again, I think he's going to be one of the best, two-way centers in the league. He's going to be top 10 in a very short period of time here as we approach this season. But, maybe a couple years down the road, he'll be around top 10, right? But 56 is just way too high. I'm sorry. I don't know what to say about that. Jaren Jackson Jr. at 55. I get he had a bad season last year. He took a dip in a lot of things. But again, he was in a position where he had to play center a lot of the time. And he was just completely the only guy in that lineup a lot of times. Desmond Bane was down a lot of times. Marcus Smart was down a lot of times. Ja Morant was out for almost the entire season. He had to play center and he had to be like the leading scorer. That's just not his role. And so I'm a little bit more forgiving of that season for Triple J, because when you think about how great he has been throughout his career in the role that he is supposed to be in, which is a third option type of forward offensively with defensive anchor and DPOY capabilities, he is exceptional in that role. One of the best players in the league. I think around 40 is a little bit more fair. 55 feels way too low. Şengün, I think he needs to be higher, man. This is a top 40 player, top 45 player in the league. He will break out to stardom this season, no question. He's gonna have an all-star caliber season. Last season, again, 21 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal on good efficiency. He improved his defense a little bit. This guy is a star in the making, okay? And so we need to see Şengün a little bit higher. Certainly should not be 2 spots ahead of Derek Lively II. He's going to be the best player on a borderline play-in team in a unprecedentedly great Western Conference. RJ Barrett at 53, I could, be convinced he should be here. I could be convinced he should be a little bit lower. Just gut reaction, I feel like maybe he should be a little bit lower. I like RJ Barrett a lot. I think he gets too much hate. Only 24 years old still, and had a great season post Knicks trade with the Raptors. He had a great showing there, just like Immanuel Quickley. And so we're talking about players that, should have a better season than they've had in their careers. RJ Barrett is certainly in the mix, but 53 maybe feels a little bit high when we have guys like Şengün right behind him here. Franz Wagner at 52. I got no issues with this. He was 52 last year, 52 this year. Maybe should be top 50, just slightly ahead. Maybe you could say Anunoby at 51. I think this is okay. I might have him behind guys like Franz Wagner or Şengün or Triple J. I don't know. Maybe 51 feels okay. Maybe that's a little high, just a tad. No question he's top 60 for me. But Franz Wagner, maybe you could say is top 50, but only slightly above where he is. You could say maybe at the highest end of things, top 45 next season. I think he'll have a big improvement this season. He shot poorly last year, and that could certainly have him higher than 52 by the time next season rolls around. But that is the first part of this, which is top 100 of 51. Already so many issues with this. The biggest one, I just gotta be honest, is Herb Jones at 97. It's just outrageous. Like, they clearly have not watched this guy play, and so how are we gonna say that he's 97? We have Dante DiVincenzo at 75. Again, all these players are good players, and none of these players on this list are bad players or undeserving of praise or appreciation. But when we're talking about 100 best players, I mean, Derek Lively next season is not going to be the 56th best player in the league. I'm sorry, he's just not going to be. Let's move on to the top 50 to all the way to 11. Let's get into it. I do have to mention, as a YouTuber, it is my job to mention this. If you guys are enjoying the video so far and want to see more content like this, make sure you guys do subscribe. We're going to be posting stuff like this almost every day, and the season's coming up, so I don't want you guys to miss any content. And leave a like on the video if you're enjoying it. Let's get into it. LaMelo Ball at 50. I don't know, man. I think that that feels kind of low, but I don't know. I think it's okay. We just have to see him play a healthy season. If he plays healthy, obviously he's a top tier talent in this league. All-star player. We just haven't seen him be healthy. If we're projecting, guys like Mitchell Robinson to be healthy all season, and we're giving him low marks for his injuries, I get that they're not comparable in terms of talent, but we have to be consistent with this list. And so I get why they would rank him 50 with their fair criteria. It makes sense to me. Aaron Gordon at 49 feels okay. People are going to see this and say, oh, above LaMelo Ball. Listen, he is a more consistent, better contributor to winning basketball, in my opinion, than some of these guys that put up, big numbers, but just, haven't either been healthy and could use some polish to their games. Julius Randle at 48. I think I reacted to this list last year. It was either this one or the Bleacher Report. I don't know if they're different, but they had Randle at like number 50 or something. I just think he's way better than that. This is an all NBA caliber player coming back or a full healthy season. I just feel like 48 is just disrespectful to him. Evan Mobley at 47. He could even finish somewhere around 30 or 25 if he plays a full healthy season. Evan Mobley, with the big leap that we've all been expecting him to take for a couple years now. If he takes that leap, he could be one of the best players in the league, right? And when I'm saying taking the leap, I'm referring to the offensive side of the floor, where he just doesn't have a lot of different type of skills, right? He's certainly a great pick and roll finisher. He's a great lob threat. He has a ton of talent and, kind of stuff around the basket that I like, but we just have to see him hit jump shots, man. It's just got to be more consistent from the perimeter. And hopefully Coach Atkinson can utilize him a little bit better, but I just don't know if I'd, bet on Julius Randle to have a worse season than Evan Mobley. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy for that. KP at 46. I get that, him missing time could leave him here because he will miss a few months, but, if he was playing all 82 games, I'd say he should be a little bit higher than this, but I get why they ranked him here. DeMar DeRozan at 45. I don't know. It feels kind of low to me, but I could be convinced should be top 40, right? Certainly, maybe even top 35, but I'm kind of torn on this one. Let me know down in the comment section. Jalen Williams, J-Dub at 44. I think he should certainly be in the mix for top 35. People are going to say it's too high. People are going to say it's too low. I think it's a little too low if I had to, rank it. Certainly should be top 30, top 35 in my opinion. DeJounte Murray at 43. Again, this just looks low when you look at his production and stuff like that. But I promise you, once we get into like the top 30, just knowing the players I haven't already mentioned, knowing how great the NBA is in terms of talent, when I do my lists and stuff like that, this is actually a pretty good ranking here at 43. I think that's pretty fair. He's not going to have the same type of production, I don't think, because he's going to have to share a lot more responsibility offensively with guys like Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, and Zion Williamson. And so I think that's kind of a good ranking here. Pascal, I think he should be higher. Personally, this is kind of low for me. 42 just feels low for Pascal. One of the more versatile, power forwards in the league, one of the best power forwards in the league. Sign a max contract, as it says here, much deserved. He's going to have the second best player responsibilities on a playoff team, and he's going to deliver that. And so I don't think there's any reason to think he won't deliver that. So I don't know why we would have him at 42. Just feels a little bit low. I don't know. I think he should be top 35 at least. Harden at 41. I think that's kind of fair. The consistency isn't always there, but talent-wise, he's certainly ahead of this. We saw him have a good playoff series last year, and so maybe you could bump him up a little bit for that. But he is going to have to be the number one scorer throughout the season a lot of times with Kawhi down in the lineup. He's apparently out indefinitely, Kawhi Leonard, and so I think 41 is kind of fair, but we'll have to see what it looks like. Brandon Ingram at 40 feels okay. Looks like he was ranked 27th last year, which I probably would have agreed with at that time. At this point, 40 just feels kind of fair to me. Maybe you could say he's a little bit higher. I don't know. We'll have to see who's ahead of him. Derek White, I think Derek White's a little too high, and that's only because you have guys like Jalen Suggs and comparable role players to him. Guys like Jalen Suggs, guys like Herb Jones, KCP, Alex Caruso, all outside of the top 50. And so if we're going to say Derek White, who is a great role player, probably the best in the league, is it by that much of a margin? Is it by a 20 or 30 or 40 spot margin? I don't know about that, man. I think if we're going to rank those guys at the end of the list, we have to rank Derek White somewhere close to them. If we're going to say he's 39th, then maybe we should say Herb Jones and Alex Caruso are 40th or 45th, right? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense given the criteria. I don't hate the ranking just on its own, but with their criteria and who they've ranked behind him, I do hate it. Mikal Bridges at 38 feels high. I mean, I like Mikal Bridges, as a defender, he is excellent, right? He is top tier in elite perimeter defense, versatility defensively. Brandon Ingram at 40 feels crazy when you have Bridges at 38. They are kind of comparable in some ways, but Brandon Ingram's playmaking and his shot creation is just miles better than Mikal Bridges, who is, not a great playmaker, not a great shot creator. He can shot create, but he's just not as good as Brandon Ingram at it. Defensively, he's, obviously miles above a lot of these players, but, at the end of the day, I just don't know if he's the 38th best player next season. I doubt it. Trae Young at 37. I mean, come on, man. This is what I'm talking about. This is maybe one of the worst spots you could have anybody on this list. I mean, this is probably the crazy. I should have put this in the thumbnail rather than some of the other players I did. 37 for Trae Young? Why? How? How? This guy's going to be the best player far and away on a play-in team next season, and we're going to have him 37th, excluding all of the talent that he has, excluding all of the things he's already done throughout his career. I get that it's projection for next season. He's going to have a better season than he did last year. He averaged 26 and 11 last season. He's going to average somewhere around 30 and 11, next season, right? Because no DeJounte Murray, folks. I mean, are we really going to sit here and say this 37th best player next season is going to be Trae Young? That just seems insane to me. He needs to be top 20, top 25. That's wild. 36, Drew Holiday. Again, I don't hate this ranking. I just don't. I think he should even maybe be a little bit higher, but Trae Young at 37 just taints the whole thing, right? Wow, man, this is, I don't know if I can get over that. Scotty Barnes at 35. That's cool for me. I love Scotty Barnes. Gonna have a great season this year. Base of the Toronto Raptors. Rudy Gobert at 34. I don't know, man. DPOY, anchor of the best defense in the league. I get that he's not a great offensive guy, and I probably have him a little higher than that. Larry at 33. I got no issues with. Chet at 32. Let me think about this for a second. I could hear a case he should be way lower, and I could hear a case that he should be 32. I think it all depends on what your criteria is, but for the criteria of this list, it makes sense. It's just, when we have guys like Trae Young, I don't know, man. This is really tough at this point. It's just, he should probably be a little bit lower, maybe, but he also could be higher. I don't know. Jamal Murray at 31. That just, come on. Like, again, this is a crazy ranking. 31? This is going to be the second best player on maybe the 3 seed in the West in this unprecedentedly historical great West. And we're going to say that the second best player on that team, who is an all-star caliber player, all NBA caliber player, despite the low production compared to some of the other guys he's compared to, when it really matters, he is all NBA caliber, one of the best point guards in the league. He's 31st next season. Yeah, all right. Okay, that's cool. Karl Anthony Towns at 30. I think he should probably be a little higher, right? This is one of the most talented big men in the league, maybe top 5, right? Certainly. 30th feels low to me. Domantas Sabonis 29 feels kind of low to me as well. I mean, this guy was an all NBA player last season. He's already been an all NBA player. 77 double doubles last season, on a play-in caliber team. He's the second best player, maybe the first best player. I think that's kind of low. This guy made an all NBA team last season. He's probably going to do it again. So Jimmy Butler at 28, that's way too low. Like, who are we having above Jimmy Butler, Trae Young, Jamal Murray? Jimmy Butler at 28 is insane. That's crazy work. I mean, what? No question he's top 20. That's just the end of the debate. There's no reconciling that with, who will they possibly have above Jimmy Butler, who's going to be the 28th best player next season on the Miami Heat, who's in a contract year. He's going to perform better than he has in, the past 5 regular seasons, in my opinion. And so 12 was where he was at last year. He's closer to 12 than he is to 28. Let me tell you, folks. Zion at 27. All right. This is like, I guess, but when you have Jimmy Butler behind him, I don't know, because I think Zion's going to have a better season than he did last year, which was a very good season. He lost weight this summer, which I think is going to be a big deal for his defense and his, ability to create for himself a little bit better. And I think he's going to be the best player on a playoff team in this historic West. But 27, is he better than Jimmy Butler? Is he more reliable than Jimmy? I don't know, man. I think that's kind of crazy. De'Aaron Fox at 26. I don't have an issue with this, but I just have an issue. It's just the same thing as the Herb Jones thing. I have an issue with everyone else behind him. Kyrie at 25. That's fair. Paolo at 24. That's kind of fair to me. I think that's pretty reasonable. No question. I mean, best player on a playoff team, right? He will be this season. Damian Lillard at 23. I think he could be a little bit lower when we have guys like Jamal Murray and Trae Young in the 30s. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy for that. Jimmy Butler behind him. I don't know. Kawhi Leonard at 22. I think Kawhi Leonard is a top 15 player when he's perfectly healthy, but again, we just won't see him healthy this season. Most likely he played 68 games last year, and it's probably going to be closer to 50 this season. Unfortunately for Kawhi Leonard enjoyers, I'm one of them. I love to watch that guy play basketball as an NBA fan, but I guess if the criteria is what they're using, then that kind of makes sense to me. Paul George at 21. I think this is a little bit high because, again, I'm a Sixers fan. I have all the reasons in the world to say he's top 15, but he's not. But if we're going to say that reliability and quantity of contributions is going to be one of the most important things here, this season, projections, right? I don't think there's a case that he's 21st. You could say maybe he's top 30. 21 feels high to me when you have guys like Jimmy Butler behind him, when you have guys like Kyrie Irving behind him. I don't think Paul George is going to play more than 60 games. Maybe if he does, then maybe he's 21st. In terms of talent, he's certainly up there, right? But I'm just going off what they told us. The criteria was 20. John Morant, I think he's low. To say that Tyrese Maxey, who is my favorite player in the world and one of my favorite players ever, is 19th, just feels high. I love Tyrese, and he's an all NBA caliber guard here. But when we're having Trae Young and Jamal Murray in the 30s, guys like Jimmy Butler at 28, I just don't know how we could say Tyrese Maxey is going to have the 19th best season. I don't even hate this. I just hate that they've ranked so poorly before him. And so, I love Maxey. I think he is somewhere around anywhere from 30 20 to 20, or 19, I guess. But I just don't love this ranking here. Bam Adebayo at 18, I think that's fine, right? He's certainly in that range. Mitchell at 17, best player on a playoff team, that makes sense. Maybe a little bit higher towards like 15 area. Tyrese Halliburton at 16 feels high to me. I don't know about that, because when he was at his best last season pre-injury in the regular season, he was playing like an MVP candidate. And so if he plays like that this season, which he totally could, 16 feels okay. Reliable type of player. I think he's in superstar conversations. I just don't know. Yeah, I guess it's okay given the criteria. I don't know. It just looks kind of bad when you have guys like Donovan Mitchell and John Morant, Jimmy Butler at 28, Trae Young at 37. I don't know. Devin Booker at 15. I think that's fine. Maybe I think he probably should be around this 11 range where he was last year, but I guess 15's okay. I don't hate it. Jaylen Brown at 14. Maybe that's a little high. Like, are we including playoffs in this list? I just don't know. They were very vague with the criteria, right? I don't actually hate this ranking here. I don't know. Like Devin Booker below Jaylen Brown. Listen, I think Jaylen Brown's going to have a fantastic all-star, all-NBA caliber season. He's going to be the second best player on the winningest team throughout the regular season and maybe even the playoffs, right? So I guess you could say 14's fair, but just looking at it, it just doesn't look great, right? Anthony Davis at 13. I think that's kind of low if we're talking about, this guy played over 70 games last season and, was DPOY runner-up and was all-NBA second team, right? And, he had one of the best seasons of his career last season. But when we consider how JJ Redick's going to impact him, and he's talked about things like using AD as more of a hub of the offense, I think AD should be, around 10, right? Like where he was last season. That seems fair to me, no question. Jalen Brunson at 12. I think this is fair. People are not going to like this, but I think it's fair. Again, I'm a Sixers fan. I have all the reasons in the world to hate this and say Brunson's a scrub. Listen, this guy was, top 5 in MVP voting, right? And, he's an all NBA player, leader of this offense. Other than Cat, you really don't have anybody that's going to score above 20, 25 points a game, and it's all Brunson. And so his production is going to be miles ahead of some of these other guys. And so, and he does it as efficiently as anybody. He's one of the most clutch players in the league, maybe of the last decade. And so, no question, this is a fair ranking for Brunson here. I'm much higher on him than a lot of people are somehow, even though he's a top tier point guard in this league, top 3. Coming in at number 11, I don't know. I kind of go both ways on this one, man. I think he should be somewhere between like AD and like, Paul George, right? Like, I think Victor is going to have the type of season that breaks him into superstardom conversations, the type of conversations where you say, is this guy better than AD? Is he better than Bam Adebayo? Is he up there with guys like Embiid? I think he's going to be in these talks, when it's all said and done at the end of this season. To say that he's 11th, next season, I think is a little bit bold. I think it's a lot on the more optimistic side of things. I'd be hating and delusional if I said that Victor Wembanyama wasn't going to have a top 20 or 25 season next year out of anybody, but will the Spurs make the playoffs? Will he be, as efficient of a scorer as some of these other guys? I just don't know, man. I know he's probably going to be in talks of DPOY, certainly will be in the top 3, right, with a healthy season. Spurs are going to win more games next season. We just have to see what it's going to look like. I don't actually hate this as much as some other people would say, but I don't love it either. I think it should be a little bit more of a conservative ranking rather than a bold prediction, but I get that ESPN has to sell headlines and stuff like that. I'd probably put Victor certainly behind AD. That makes a lot of sense to me. I'd probably put him anywhere from like 15 to 20 or 25, top 25 for sure, but I don't know that 11th is a great ranking. And without further ado, let's move on to the final portion of the rankings, top 10. Here we go, folks. These are the best players of the best players in the world. I think the order of the top 10 is probably going to be suspect based on what I already know about it, which is Tatum at 5, but we'll have to see. Let's go, folks. All right, we made it. If you stuck around, this is what you're here for, right? So we have Anthony Edwards at 10. If you're going to tell me right now Anthony Edwards is going to have the 10th best season of anybody in the league, I'd probably believe you. I'd say that's totally reasonable. I don't hate this ranking at all. If you were to say he was going to have the 5th best season, then we might have an argument. I just don't know that he's as complete of a player as some of these guys ahead of him, or as dominant of a player as some of these guys ahead of him, right? I mean, he is a great on-ball scorer, one of the best in the league. He is dynamic at breaking down a defender, scoring on all 3 levels. He is elite tier in that regard. He has upped his leadership quality. He has upped his defense. His perimeter defense is exceptional. His playmaking has gotten better. His efficiency is, perfectly fine and honestly great for the amount of, difficult shots he takes. And so top 10 makes sense to me. Certainly 10th is a good ranking, no question. Kevin Durant at 9. I don't hate this either. I think that's probably fair. I think we could certainly expect top 10 for him. And at 9th seems like a good ranking. This guy is going to have one of the best seasons of anybody like he did last year when you consider how much he shot the ball efficiently. 52, 41, 86 on his shooting splits while playing 75 games and being one of the Suns' best defenders last season throughout the year. And so, no question, this is a bare expectation. Number 9 in the league, and I probably have him if I were ranking just the top 100 players, not using all the criteria they have for their list, but I would have him somewhere around 9 as well. Embiid at 8. Last year he was 3rd. I have issues with this, not as a Sixers fan, as a basketball observer, as an NBA observer. I think this is low, right? No question. I mean, without this guy, I don't care if you have Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, the Sixers just aren't winning 50 games. They're not winning maybe even 40 games. And so I know about the restrictions. I know about all the knee stuff, that they're going to put a brace on him. They're not going to play him in any back-to-back. So that's a guaranteed 15 missed games. He's certainly going to deal with some nagging stuff throughout the season. Hopefully he won't, but that's just how it goes, right? As a Sixers fan, in terms of talent, overall skill set, he's top 5. In terms of impact on winning, he's top 5. In terms of dominance, he's top 5. All these things make sense, but number 8, it could be that I'm just a biased Sixers fan, but I just don't think the Sixers literally even make the playoffs without Embiid this season. And so even if he plays 20 less games than some of the other guys they're going to have ahead of him, I still think he would impact the team more on a winning, basis in terms of quality rather than quantity than some of the guys ahead of him. But with the criteria they have, it does kind of make sense to me why he would be lower than some of these other people, like LeBron James at number 7. But I don't know. I just think, LeBron, I think it's fair for him to be 7. I don't actually hate this at all. I think he played 70 plus games last season, which was a big thing for him. The Lakers are looking to get more out of the talent they have with Coach Redick. I think he's going to utilize them in a good way. We can expect LeBron to do LeBron things. 25, 7 and 7s, something like that. LeBron shot the ball really well last season, above 40%. One of the only times in his career that he's done that. And so, this is totally fine with me. If there's one guy to bet on every year, we might not know how many games he's going to play, but we know what the stat line is going to look like and his impact's going to look like. And so that's totally fine for me. Steph Curry, he's going to have a lot more responsibility this season. He's really like the lone star on this team. And without Clay, he's going to be the lone guy you can rely on night to night for the Warriors to score above 15, 20 points. And so I don't think the loss of Clay is as big of a deal as some people think, but he is going to have a 30 plus points per game type of season. He's going to be, if the Warriors can make a 6 seed, he'll be in MVP talks, right? But if they, kind of hover around where they have been around the 9 seed, stuff like that, then I think he certainly could be 6. I mean, that makes sense to me. Maybe a little bit lower than Embiid or LeBron, but it is top 10, no question. Tatum at 5 is just a little too high for me. I put Embiid above him. I'd put maybe even Curry above him. I'm not so sure about that, but Embiid should be above Tatum in my opinion. You could say I'm a hating Sixers fan. You could say I don't know basketball. Listen, I have been defending Tatum for so long. After these finals, the amount of disrespect he's been getting is just crazy. This is a top 10 player in the league, but will he be the 5th best player this season with the criteria they've given? I'm just not so sure about that. We know this guy is going to play a lot of games. We know he's going to put up, somewhere between 25 and 30 points per game, 8 rebounds, 4 assists on really good and versatile defense. So that's pretty elite. That's top 10, no question. But I just think it's a little bit overzealous to predict him 5th. I think it's kind of crazy to put him above Steph, LeBron, and Embiid. I don't know. Maybe you guys can let me know down in the comments section if I'm crazy for thinking that, but Embiid should be higher in my opinion, regardless of my Sixers fandom. Shea at 4 makes a lot of sense to me. That's a good ranking, and he's gonna have to carry a lot of the offense as well, and so he is certainly number 4. That makes a ton of sense for me. Runner up for MVP, Giannis at 3. That's fine. I have no issue with that. Luka at 2, another player I have no issue with being at 2, and Jokic at 1. The top 3 is really good, and actually the top 4 is really good. I'd probably have it in that order. I actually probably would. Maybe you could say Giannis should be 2. That's just kind of nitpicking at that point, but I think Embiid should be 5th, and I think Tatum should be anywhere from 7 or 6 to 10, maybe 7 to 10. Any way you look at it, this list is very flawed. That's kind of the list here, and so let me know down in the comment section what you think the craziest part of the list was. For me, it just was very inconsistent as far as where they rank some of these guys. The top 10 is actually a lot better than the 11 through 100 in my opinion, but some of these role players that they ranked, ones that stand out just off the top of my head are Jalen Suggs and Herb Jones in the late 90s, and then having Şengün in the 50s. Derek Lively the second is in the 50s as well. That just doesn't make any sense to me. Trae Young at 37 is wild. Jamal Murray at 31 is crazy. Jimmy Butler at 28 is crazy. I don't know. This is a bad list in my opinion. It's very bad. They could just use a little bit more consistency. It's not totally the worst thing it's not the worst list I've ever seen. I've seen worse lists. But let me know down in the comment section if you think this list is really bad. I don't know. Maybe I don't think 2 rankings should determine a list, but some of them are just so bad that it just makes me question, did these people even watch these players play? Because if you did, you wouldn't have them where you do. So hopefully guys enjoyed the video. Let me know down in the comment section what the worst ranking and the best ranking on this list is. Do you disagree with my analysis on anybody, let me know and I'll be glad to receive that feedback and, have a discussion with you. I will catch you guys in the next one. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you guys want to see more content like this almost every day on the channel. We're going to be uploading throughout the NBA season, stuff like this, NBA news, rankings, predictions, all things NBA. We're going to be covering it on the channel, creative stuff, and I have a lot of fun stuff planned. I want you guys to be a part of it. So please subscribe if you did enjoy the video and you are new. Please leave a like on the video if you did enjoy it. It would help a lot of people, find the video, maybe help them subscribe to the channel. So it really help me if you guys could leave a like. I think we could shoot for 50 likes. I think that's a realistic goal for this list. And follow my Twitter and follow my Twitch. Those are my social medias. And hopefully you guys just have a great rest of your day today. The season is, at the time of recording this video, just a few days away, and I can't wait to watch it with you guys and react to all these things with you guys and share all my analysis. So hopefully you guys stick around, and hopefully if you're making a list, don't do what these people did at ESPN. Not trying to hate, but it just wasn't great. This is your boy D-Have, and as always, peace.